The morning air outside City Hall's private range was crisp, sharp enough to sting the lungs. A place where only the powerful and privileged dared to walk. Yet, through those towering glass doors stepped someone no one expected. Sophia. She wasn't on the list. She wasn't supposed to be there. But her stride carried a weight, a quiet determination that made even the stone-faced guards hesitate for half a second. As if every step was a vow. Inside, the marble floor gleamed like a mirror, reflecting the polished shoes and designer gowns of the city's elite. Clusters of patrons murmured softly, exchanging the kind of laughter reserved for people who'd known wealth all their lives. Their voices faltered when they noticed her. She didn't fit. Her sneakers were scuffed. Her jacket was last season, maybe two. And in her hand, tightly gripped like a lifeline, was a battered envelope stamped with the mayor's seal. The kind of seal that could open doors, even when the world whispered that you didn't belong. The crowd's eyes followed her, curious, doubtful, some even sneering. At the counter stood a tall woman with sleek hair, polished to perfection. Her name tag read Emma. She barely lifted her eyes at first, but when she caught sight of Sophia's clothes, her gaze lingered, narrowing like a scanner searching for flaws. Sophia slid the envelope forward, careful not to reveal the storm beneath her calm expression. Emma picked it up, fingers tapping the polished desk, her nails clicking like a judge's gavel. She read it once, twice, then set it down with a sharp, deliberate tap. "We rarely see new faces here," she said, her voice polite, but with the steel of suspicion. "What exactly is your purpose today?" Sophia's reply was steady, though her pulse thundered in her ears. "I'm here for the open demonstration slot. The invitation confirms it." Emma scanned the text one more time. A pause. Then a thin smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Lane 12, she said crisply. "Down the hall, turn left. Someone will direct you. Please stay within your time." Sophia nodded softly, slipped the invitation back into her jacket, walked away as the whispers in the room grew louder, like bees stirred from their hive. "Who is she?" one man muttered, leaning toward his companion. "A friend of the mayor?" "No." "Look at her shoes," a woman whispered, her diamonds catching the light as she tilted her head. Sophia kept walking. Her hand tightened around the rifle case she carried, her lifeline, her secret. The hallway stretched before her, lined with photographs of the mayor shaking hands with celebrities and politicians, smiling with actors, generals, billionaires. This wasn't just a shooting range. It was a stage where power mingled with prestige. Deals whispered between gunshots. At the end of the hall, sunlight spilled through high windows into a wide observation lounge. Plush seats overlooked glass partitions, each lane fitted with sleek technology. Digital scoring boards flashing with the names of the mayor's favored guests. A man in a navy blazer approached, his posture sharp, his expression formal. He held a tablet, the glow reflecting in his glasses. "Name?" he asked. Sophia answered quietly. His brows lifted in mild surprise when her name appeared. He hesitated, then nodded. "Lane 12, he confirmed, echoing Emma's instructions. "You'll be sharing with others, testing new equipment. Follow me." She walked beside him, feeling dozens of eyes on her. A tall blonde woman in lane 6 adjusted a pristine rifle, her black uniform embroidered with the mayor's crest. She caught sight of Sophia and smirked, her eyes sharp with disdain. The message was clear: you don't belong here. Sophia didn't flinch. She wasn't here for their approval. She was here for something deeper. At lane 12, the assistant gestured to the steel table, tapping codes into the glowing overhead console. "Your pass is recognized. 15 minutes to prepare. The demonstration begins at 10 sharp." And then she was alone. Sophia set down her case. Fingers trembled for just a second as she flipped open the worn latch. Inside rested an old bolt-action rifle, wooden stock smoothed by years of care, barrel polished like glass. Not new, not flashy, but hers. Her father's voice rose unbidden in her memory, warm and steady. "Trust your aim, Sophia. It will speak for you when words cannot." She cradled the rifle, closing her eyes for just a breath. The crowd behind the glass couldn't see it. The little girl who once stood in a dusty field, too small to shoulder the weapon properly. The way her father's steady hands had guided her, teaching her patience, teaching her trust. Her heart slowed. Her grip steadied. Then a voice crackled through the overhead speakers. "The mayor will arrive shortly to observe the demonstration." The words rippled through the lounge like an electric current. Patrons leaned forward. Conversations hushed. All eyes were drawn to the lanes, to the shooters preparing their weapons. Sophia adjusted her stance, her reflection caught in the ballistic glass. For a moment, she saw not just herself but the doubt, the whispers, the weight of every barrier she had ever pushed against. And then just silence. A silence thick enough to breathe in, heavy enough to taste. The kind of silence that comes right before something changes forever. What happens when that silence breaks? When the first shot echoes through the mayor's private range, will Sophia's voice be heard, or will she be silenced by the weight of doubt? The overhead lights dimmed. A hush swept across the lounge as the sleek digital boards above each lane flickered to life. Bright spotlights cut through the air, illuminating polished steel tables and rifles that gleamed like jewels. The mayor had arrived. Sophia didn't dare glance back, but she could feel it, the subtle shift in the room, the tightening of posture, the way whispers dissolved into reverent silence. From behind the glass, the city's elite leaned forward, eyes narrowed, waiting to see what this stranger in worn sneakers could possibly bring to their arena. A voice crackled through the speakers, calm but commanding. "All participants, prepare for the opening round. You will each fire 3 shots at mid-range targets. Scores will appear overhead." The signal beeped. The range was live. Lane 6 moved first. The tall blonde woman Margot, Sophia overheard someone whisper, lifted her semi-automatic rifle with the elegance of someone born into applause. Her custom scope shimmered, her uniform sharp as glass. Crack. The sound exploded through the hall, bouncing off partitions. The scoreboard flashed, bullseye. Another shot. Another bullseye. The crowd responded with a ripple of polite applause, nods of approval, satisfied smiles. Margot tilted her head, acknowledging them with the faintest smirk, as if the outcome had never been in doubt. Lane 10 followed, a man in a tailored suit, his silver hair glinting under the lights. He took his time, breathing carefully between shots. His rifle boasted an ornate scope, polished brass fittings. Each bullet struck clean, the scoreboard granting him high marks. Sophia's heart pounded. She forced her breathing to slow. Then, Lane 12 lit up. The board didn't flash a name. Just a word, guessed. A reminder. She didn't belong here. She slid a single round into the chamber. Her father's words steadied her hands. "Patience, Sophia. Let the rifle breathe with you. Inhale. Exhale." The trigger clicked, the rifle recoiled, and the shot flew. Clang. The scoreboard beeped. Near bullseye. A murmur spread across the lounge. The second shot. Another clean strike. Murmurs grew louder, heads turning toward each other. Her third shot struck just off center, but still dangerously close. The scoreboard flashed her accuracy, side by side with Margot's near-perfect run. Close. Very close. Gasps. Raised brows. Whispers. No one had expected this. Behind the glass, Sophia spotted the mayor for the first time. His black suit sharp, his posture deliberate. He leaned toward an aide, whispering something that made the man's brows lift. Sophia lowered her rifle, chest tight, but her face calm. She could feel the room shifting. Those who had written her off minutes ago now leaned in, curiosity sparking where disdain once lived. The voice over the speakers returned, measured and calm. "Prepare for the second round. Long-range targets. 3 shots each." Margot smirked, loading fresh rounds. "This," she muttered under her breath, though loud enough for Sophia to hear, "is where the amateurs fall apart." Sophia said nothing. She anchored the rifle against her shoulder. Margot fired first. Crack, crack, crack. Each bullet found its mark with surgical precision. The crowd erupted in quiet applause, her name glowing bright at the top of the scoreboard. Lane 10's silver-haired gentleman followed, slower this time, faltering on one shot but still respectable. Then, Lane 12 again. Sophia's pulse thundered, but her breath stayed steady. Inhale. Exhale. Pause. Crack. The first bullet struck dead center. The hush deepened. Crack. The second, just beside it. Crack. The third, again close. The scoreboard flashed. She had surpassed lane 10 by a wide margin. Still trailing Margot, but close, dangerously close. In the lounge, whispers turned into low, urgent murmurs. Someone leaned toward another, eyes wide. Where did she learn to shoot like that? Sophia ejected the spent brass, the smell of gunpowder rising warm and metallic in the air. Her hands trembled faintly, not from nerves, but from the electric charge of the moment. She could feel the crowd watching her differently now. Margot glanced over, her smirk sharpened into something colder, edged with challenge. She took a step closer, between rounds, her voice honeyed with mockery. "Not bad," she said, tilting her head. "But let's see how you handle speed. That's where nerves betray you." Sophia met her eyes calmly. "We'll see." The range officer, a man named Robert, lifted the mic, his voice echoing across the chamber. "Next phase. Speed challenge. 6 pop-up targets. 6 bullets. Time is critical." The crowd stirred, a restless excitement, buzzing like static. Everyone knew this test separated the skilled from the legendary. Margot smiled, lips curling into something almost predatory. She welcomed the spotlight. But Sophia? She only adjusted her grip, whispered a memory of her father in her heart, and waited. The silence thickened. Time slowed. The air tasted like metal and anticipation. The beep sounded. The speed round had begun. 6 targets. 6 bullets. 1 chance. Will Sophia crumble under the spotlight, or deliver a performance that no one in that room will ever forget? The chamber lights narrowed into beams over each lane. Beyond the glass, the lounge was silent. No whispers now. Just waiting. Robert's voice cut through the hush like a blade. "Lane 6. Ready." Margot stepped forward. Her rifle gleamed under the lights, pristine, expensive, designed to win. She rolled her shoulders, her movement smooth, confident, rehearsed. Beep. The first target popped up. Crack. Gone. The second. Crack. Another clean hit. She moved like a dancer, swift and elegant. By the time the 6th target dropped, only one was a hair off center. The lounge erupted in applause. The scoreboard lit with near-perfect accuracy, her name glowing bright. Margot bowed slightly, turning her head just enough to let Sophia see the smug curl of her smile. Her message was clear: beat that if you can. Lane 10. Ready. The silver-haired man raised his ornate rifle. His hands were steady, but slower. He managed 5 out of 6, faltering at the last. A respectable score, but not enough to shake Margot's hold. Then, Lane 12. Ready. Sophia stepped up. The rifle felt heavy in her hands, though not from its weight. From the eyes burning into her back. The mayor stood with his arms crossed, gaze locked. Margot leaned casually on her lane, a predator watching prey. The crowd leaned forward, breath held. Her chest rose and fell. Once. Twice. She remembered the orchard years ago. The way her father placed a hand over hers, steadying her grip. The way he whispered, "The rifle is not your enemy. It's your voice. Let it speak." Beep. The first target snapped into view. Sophia fired. Clang. Target down. Another beep, far right. She pivoted. Fired. Clang. Second down. The crowd stirred, shifting forward in their seats. The third target rose, half hidden behind a barrier. Her finger paused just long enough, then squeezed. Clang. 3 in a row. Her pulse thundered, but her hands stayed steady. The fourth pop high, top right. She adjusted, pulled the trigger. Clang. The hush was no longer silence. It was pressure, thick and suffocating. The fifth target appeared low, far left. She tracked it, lined her sights. Clang. Gasps rippled through the lounge. Margot's smile faltered. The mayor leaned forward. 1 target left. 1 bullet. The final pop-up triggered, a tricky angle partially blocked by wood. The kind of shot designed to rattle even veterans. The clock ticked. The room held its breath. Sophia exhaled. The sound of her breath filled her ears louder than the crowd. Her father's voice echoed, "Trust your aim." She squeezed the trigger. Clang. The final target dropped. The scoreboard beeped, then flashed. 6 shots. 6 hits. Fastest time. For a heartbeat, silence. Then pandemonium. The crowd erupted into applause, cheers breaking through the glass. Reporters scribbled furiously. A young socialite clapped her hands over her mouth, whispering, "She did it." The mayor's expression shifted, curiosity hardening into admiration. "Margot?" She stood frozen, her jaw tight, her smirk erased. She forced a polite smile, but her eyes betrayed the storm beneath. Robert's voice rang with rare excitement. "Lane 12 6 for 6. A perfect run. Matching our best records." The scoreboard shifted again, her lane climbing to the very top. But instead of an aim, the board still read, "Guessed." Sophia lowered the rifle slowly, her breath shaking for the first time. Not from nerves. From release. The storm inside her had steadied into something she hadn't felt in years. Validation. Behind the glass, applause grew louder. Some spectators even stood. The hush that had once whispered ridicule now roared with recognition. The mayor began to walk toward her, his polished shoes striking the floor with measured certainty. Margot's eyes narrowed, watching him. Watching Sophia. Something had shifted. And everyone in the room knew it. What would the mayor say to a woman who wasn't even supposed to be there? Would he offer her recognition, or a challenge far greater than the range itself? The applause still echoed as Sophia set her rifle gently back on the table. Her chest rose and fell in slow, controlled breaths, but inside, her pulse was fire. 6 for 6. Perfect. Faster than Margot. The board glowed her victory in bold letters, though her lane still carried no name. Just guessed. The word hung like a brand. She was a ghost among giants. The crowd pressed against the glass now, their once bored expressions replaced with wonder, even awe. Some whispered frantically, some clapped, some simply stared. And then, the mayor rose. The sea of spectators parted as he moved, his black suit sharp as shadow, his stride deliberate. Whispers chased him, every eye following his every step. His presence carried weight, the kind that bent the room around him. Sophia's grip tightened on her rifle case. When he reached her lane, he stopped. For a heartbeat, silence. Then he extended a hand. That, he said, his voice warm but commanding, was extraordinary. Sophia hesitated, then took his hand. His shake was firm, the kind politicians mastered, equal parts authority and charm. "I take it you've had training," he added, his gaze studying her like a puzzle piece he couldn't quite place. Sophia steadied her voice. "My father taught me. I've been practicing for years." The mayor nodded, approval flickering in his eyes. Behind him, Margot hovered, her lips curved into a forced smile. Her eyes, however, burned with quiet fury. Robert's voice rang again through the mic, breaking the tension. "Ladies and gentlemen, Lane 12 has matched one of the highest records in this range's history. 6 targets, 6 hits, perfect time." Applause swelled once more, rolling over Sophia like a wave. She dipped her head slightly in thanks, but she didn't bask in it. Not yet. As the session concluded, participants were ushered toward the lounge. Sophia packed her rifle carefully, her hands precise, deliberate. She could feel eyes still on her, trying to measure who she was, where she'd come from. At the lounge, glasses clinked. Soft laughter filled the air as the mayor's staff recorded scores and handed out acknowledgments. The man from Lane 10 approached her with a respectful nod. "You've humbled me," he said with a dry grin. "And I thought I was having a good day." Sophia offered a modest smile. "Thank you." But before the conversation could grow, the mayor returned. His presence silenced the room once again. He praised Margot for her near-perfect run, shaking her hand for the cameras. Flashes snapped, capturing her polished smile. Then he turned back to Sophia. "I must say," he began, his tone softer now, almost conspiratorial, "I hadn't expected such precision from a new face. Tell me, how did you find your way here?" Sophia removed her ear protection, meeting his gaze evenly. "I was invited by someone who believed I deserved a chance." The mayor tilted his head, amusement sparking in his eyes. "Well, their faith paid off. Remarkable shooting." He leaned closer, his voice lowering. Would you mind stepping aside with me for a moment? The crowd shifted, watching as he guided her to a quieter corner, near a towering plant that offered a sliver of privacy. "You're not one of my usual guests," he said, his eyes narrowing slightly. "Which is refreshing. That's probably why you caught everyone off guard." Sophia explained little, keeping her answers tight. She told him of years spent training, the rifle passed down from her father, the nights she scraped by just to afford a box of bullets. She left out the rest, the loneliness, the doubt, the way every missed shot once felt like a personal failure. The mayor listened, his eyes sharpening. Then he nodded. "Your skill is undeniable, and I think it deserves a bigger stage." Her brows furrowed. "What do you mean?" "There's a city exhibition in 3 weeks. A public showcase. We gather top shooters, raise funds for youth programs, and bring in the press. It's part sport, part spectacle. I want you there. Trust me, the city would love you." The words hit like a rush of cold air. A bigger stage. Cameras. Crowds. Pressure far greater than today. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. "Skill bridges every gap, Sophia. Never forget that." She drew a steady breath. "I'd be honored." The mayor's smile widened. He clasped her hand again, his grip warm, sealing the promise. "Excellent. My staff will contact you. I have no doubt you'll be the story of the event." And then he was gone, swept back into the current of admirers, leaving Sophia standing alone amid the hum of conversation. Margot passed by soon after, her steps measured, her smile polite. But her eyes, sharp as shattered glass, lingered on Sophia. "Congratulations," she said softly, each syllable laced with venom hidden under honey. "Enjoy it while it lasts." Sophia didn't rise to it. She simply nodded, tucking her father's rifle case against her side, and made for the exit. At the counter, Emma looked up from her paperwork. This time, there was something in her eyes Sophia hadn't seen before. "Respect. Leaving so soon?" Emma asked. Sophia gave a quiet smile. "I have what I came for." Emma's lips curved into the faintest half-smile. "Well, you certainly left your mark. People here won't forget you." With a nod, Sophia stepped out into the sunlight. The marble and whispers of the range fell behind her, but the story was already slipping free of its gilded walls. That very night, short clips from phones began circling online, grainy videos of Lane 12, of 6 perfect shots, of the mystery woman who'd stolen the spotlight. Who is she? Where did she come from? Did you see that old rifle? By dawn, her name had become a whisper on every forum, a spark leaping from one curious mind to the next. And somewhere, Margot scrolled through the same headlines, her lips pressed into a thin, dangerous line. The stage is no longer private. With the city watching, with rivals circling, and with whispers growing louder every hour, what will happen when Sophia steps into an arena designed for spectacle, not just skill? 3 weeks later, the city had changed for Sophia. What began as whispers at the mayor's range had grown into headlines, trending clips, breathless commentary. The mystery sharpshooter. The woman with the old rifle. Everywhere, speculation. And now, today, she would step onto a stage she never sought. The public range on the city's edge buzzed like a festival. Stalls selling popcorn and T-shirts lined the walkways. Camera crews adjusted tripods. News anchors rehearsed their lines. A modest grandstand held 200 people, their voices blending into a restless hum. Sophia arrived quietly, her jacket plain, her sneakers still scuffed, her father's rifle cradled in its worn case. She didn't need a sponsor's logo. She didn't need gleaming gear. She had something else. Memory, legacy, purpose. Volunteers directed her to the staging area. There, competitors mingled in matching uniforms, sponsor patches stitched across their sleeves. Some greeted her with nods, recognizing her from the viral clips. Others glanced at her rifle case with skepticism, until they caught her name. Then their doubts shifted into wariness. The mayor appeared on stage, flanked by officials. His voice carried easily, warm, and commanding. "Today, we celebrate skill, discipline, and community. And every shot fired will raise funds for programs that shape our city's future. Welcome to the exhibition." Cheers erupted, banners waved, and for the first time, Sophia felt the weight of hundreds of strangers waiting to see if the legend matched the truth. The early rounds began. Competitors dazzled with precision, striking bullseyes and moving targets with polished ease. The crowd clapped, impressed but expectant. Then her name flashed on the scoreboard. Not guessed. Not unknown. Sophia Carter. She stepped forward. The grandstand hushed. Even the air seemed to pause. She opened her rifle case, the polished wooden stock catching sunlight. A simple rifle, weathered but loved. The crowd murmured. Cameras zoomed in. Sophia inhaled, exhaled. The orchard came back to her, the sound of wind through leaves, her father's voice guiding her young hands. The first target appeared. Crack. Hit. The second. Crack. Another. One by one, they fell. 10 shots, 9 perfect. The last just clipped the edge. The stands erupted into applause, louder than anything she'd ever heard in the hush of the private range. Her name flashed near the top of the board. As rounds continued, she remained steady. Moving targets, long-range shots, she matched the best. And then, the final test arrived. The speed challenge. 6 pop-ups. The one that had made her a ghost legend online. A police officer posted 6 for 6 in steady time. A trick shooter spun theatrically, nailing them all but slower. Margot, dressed now in a sponsor's sharp uniform, hit 5 out of 6, her final miss greeted by gasps. Her jaw clenched, her eyes cutting toward Sophia like blades. Then came the announcement. Final round. Lane 12. Sophia Carter. The hush returned. Not one of doubt this time, but of raw anticipation. She stepped forward. Loaded 6 bullets. Her fingers didn't shake. Her heart did, but in rhythm, like a war drum. The beep sounded. The first target rose. Crack. Gone. Second. Crack. Gone. Third, half hidden behind a partition. Crack. Hit. The stands leaned forward, breaths held. Fourth, high right. Crack. Hit. Fifth, a weaving side target. She paused, calculated, fired. Crack. Direct. One left. The final target sprang up far left, half obscured. The hardest of them all. Sophia inhaled. Time slowed. The cheers, the cameras, the world, all fell away. Only the orchard remained. Only her father's voice. Trust your aim. It will speak for you. She exhaled. Crack. The target dropped. 6 shots. 6 hits. The scoreboard flashed in bold. Perfect. Fastest time. Record. For a heartbeat, silence. Then the roar. The grandstand shook with applause, cheers rising like thunder. Reporters shouted, cameras flashed, children jumped in their seats. The mayor rushed forward, hand extended, beaming. Sophia lowered her rifle, her breath trembling with release. She didn't smile wide, didn't lift her arms in triumph. She simply stood, the quiet at her core steady, unshaken. The mayor clasped her hand, raising it for the cameras. Ladies and gentlemen, he declared, Sophia Carter has made history today. Confetti popped, music played, and the crowd chanted her name. Sophia, Sophia, Sophia. In that moment, she felt her father beside her. Not in body, but in spirit. In every lesson, every whispered word of patience, every night spent practicing in silence. The hush that had once mocked her had transformed into something else entirely. The hush of awe. The hush before thunder. That night, Sophia returned to her small apartment. The rifle leaned in its corner, gleaming faintly in the lamplight. On the TV, her final run replayed again and again, commentators calling it one of the greatest exhibitions the city had ever seen. Her phone buzzed nonstop with messages, friends, strangers, reporters, even sponsors. She ignored most of them. Instead, she sat quietly, hands folded, listening to the echo of 6 perfect shots in her memory, each one rewriting her story, from ridicule to recognition, from guest to her own name. And yet, as she stared at the rifle, she whispered a thought meant for her father alone. It was never about them. It was about proving you were right. That skill, not status, defines us. She closed her eyes. The crowd's roar still echoed in her chest, but beneath it was a single question. One that only time could answer. Where would this path take her next? If you were in Sophia's place, stepping into a world that told you you didn't belong, would you have walked away or would you have taken the shot?